the January webinar here. Again, this is the January webinar from Failure to Success with Content Marketing in 2017. We are joined by our amazing speaker, Quinn Whissen, the Director of Marketing from Vertical Measures. Before I get into her intro, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping details to help anybody through any sound or speed quality issues. Just wanted to let you know a few tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. So for sound, it sounds quite simple, but just making sure your volume is up at the correct level. I myself have definitely made that mistake. So if you are experiencing some sound issues, just make sure to check that your volume is at the correct level. We do recommend headphones. That will help with any sort of feedback or anything like that along the way. So if you are listening on your computer and you have some headphones handy, those will also help. But if you don't have headphones, I think you'll be okay just fine. And then for any speed quality, if you can close other programs or windows, this can help to speed up the webinar. So if you want to close anything else, it'll help to reduce the amount of things on your speed and affect that quality. And then with both of those, speed and sound, if you have some severe issues and it's just not working with the tips that I've just given out, if you try logging off and logging back on, sometimes resetting that is really all that you need to do. So you can always just log off and then go back into the webinar through the confirmation email that you all should have received to get into this webinar. And just remember, we are recording, and this will all be made available to you after it's done processing. We are going to hold the Q&A at the end of the session. If you do have questions throughout and you just want to put them out there to us, feel free to put them in at the chat box on the left-hand side of your screen. And we can, try and answer them throughout, but we'll do a majority, most of the Q&A at the end for everybody. And we're going to start out with a quick poll that I'll let Quinn get to after I'm done with her intro. So essentially, that's all that I've got for housekeeping. And again, if you have any major issues, just try logging off and logging back on. All right, let's get started. We've got Quinn Whissen. She is the Director of Marketing for local internet marketing agency Vertical Measures. She has keen insights into both high-level strategy work and day-to-day implementation that goes into creating digital marketing that drives results. She teaches internet marketing workshops around the country and speaks regularly on topics of unconventional marketing, the importance of content, design, and social engagement. We are super, super excited that she has joined us today, and we are getting started with this polling. I am loving this. It's going and going, and I am going to mute myself and turn it over to you, Quinn.
Good. I hope it's working. So I'll leave this up here for a second. Hi, everyone. This is Quinn here. Like Kendall said, I'm the Director of Marketing for Vertical Measures, and we're about a 50-person agency here in the Valley, and I'm a native Phoenician as well. Grew up here, left for a while, came back, and learned to love downtown Phoenix specifically. So I live down here, work down here, and really enjoy what the area is becoming. So I hope everyone can do this poll. I'm not sure. I'm going to press a button, and I'm going to see if it actually tallies it for us. Let's see. The vote has been sent to the presenter, so I think it's working. Let me see. I don't know if you see it, Kendall. I don't see it. Let's see here. Nope, I don't see it. So, oh, there we go. It took a second. Okay. So I'm only just starting about 16%. Most of you've been doing it a while, but struggling, which is perfect. That's the exact thing that this webinar is designed to help. And also the second one, I've been successfully running a program with but not stellar results. And I think I was the one that wrote, I'm a content marketing rock star. Just because I was testing out the poll, even though I feel pretty experienced. So thank you for doing that. This will just help me kind of adjust the webinar as we go along to the experience level on the call. So I'll come back here and we'll get started. So like I mentioned, this is me. If you don't know who I am or what I look like I mentioned, Director of Marketing, but I'm also a co-founder of This Could Be Phoenix. So like I mentioned, I love downtown Phoenix and am really involved in the revitalization of the area. So I co-founded an organization to help really the community envision what they want to see for their urban core. So that's been really fun for the past couple of years. And we really work with a slew of clients, from small businesses locally to enterprise level clients globally. And we do all types of work of SEO, content marketing, and PPC. And so what we're going to be talking about today really comes down to this idea. This is from Gartner, and they every year publish this hype cycle where they rank different kind of digital marketing practices and technologies on this kind of roller coaster of hype. And so it really starts off with this trigger, and then it goes up where people get super excited about things. If we're talking about content marketing, this was a few years ago when it was the buzzword and everyone was talking about it and excited. And then we start to move, unfortunately, to a very ominous sounding trough of disillusionment, which sounds horrible. But then you go to the slope of enlightenment and productivity. So this really explains how different technologies and marketing practices go through a cycle. And where content marketing is right now is just past that peak of inflated expectations, moving to this very sad area down here. And this is really happening because many companies and organizations have started to adopt content marketing and believe in it. They understand that based on case studies, it works very, very well, but they're not necessarily seeing the results that they want to see yet. They don't know how to do it correctly. They don't know exactly how to apply the principles to their specific business. And oftentimes they're even stuck in a traditional mindset where it's trying to sell to the customer rather than what we're going to talk about today, which is trying to help the customer or help the prospect. So hopefully the things that I'll talk about today, I've got 8 different things to cover with you, is how to not move towards this trough of disillusionment, almost how to create a bridge from where we are now to hopefully the slope of enlightenment. I know this is very heady stuff, but we don't want to go down into this area if we don't have to. And the 8 things I'll cover today will hopefully help you bypass it as much as possible. So first and foremost, what is content marketing? I know many of you seem like you've been doing it for a while. Some are pretty new. So just for the purpose of this webinar and for us working under our same framework of understanding, I've included this picture of our office actually. And we have this up right as you walk in. Content marketing is not only what we do for our clients, but it's how we fuel our business. So we definitely practice what we preach. And what we found is that content marketing is truly a culture. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but this is what our 2-part definition says. Content marketing is the art of providing relevant, useful content to your customers without selling or interrupting them. Instead of pitching your products or services, you are delivering information that makes your customers more informed before they buy. Now, of course, this is very different than a traditional mindset where you don't want to educate your customers, you want to sell to them. And also traditional media and advertising is very interruptive. It's about breaking into someone's day with a commercial, a billboard, an ad, however it is, it's about interrupting them in their day. Content marketing, on the other hand, is about meeting someone where they are, when they're looking for something, when they are in need of something. So it's about being on the end of their search, and it's about being the best answer that you can be. It's about delivering information and being helpful so that after a while they start to get that information and you gain their trust and loyalty, which hopefully means they keep you on the top of the mind when they're ready to purchase your product or to hire you for a service. So this is the framework that we're working under today, is that it is a philosophy first and foremost. It's a philosophy that's very different than the marketing paradigms we've worked in, but it's how people are interacting with organizations and with companies today, and it's how they make their purchasing decisions. So let's go into these 8 things that will help you not go into the trough of disillusionment and go from either failure to success or to mediocre success to full out success in 2017. First one, this photo was hilarious to me. He looks so bored and like, who are you even talking to? Why are you talking to me about content marketing? And this is one of the things we see all the time, is that the executive team is not leading the way when it comes to content marketing. Now, I didn't kind of what the size of your organizations are. I know many of you might be just solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, or very small businesses, but some you might be bigger. And regardless, have one person, if you have 5, if you have 50, there needs to be a leader that truly understands that content marketing is the way people are interacting with businesses now, and it's the way they make purchasing decisions. So if your executives or your leaders are not on board, then it doesn't really work out. And we've seen this multiple, and thankfully for us, our CEO, Arnie Ken, who you may have heard of, he's a local guy here, he loves content marketing. He's a content marketing evangelist. And I even have him write content for me since I handle all of our own content marketing. I sit him down and have him write blog posts when he can or do webinars when he can. And he is all in on it. And because he's all in, he is leading the vision in our company and telling our staff to help create the content, to work on all of these inbound principles that we'll be talking about today. And it makes a world of difference. And the main thing here is that, yes, content marketing has campaigns within it. It has tactics and it is a strategy, but that's not all it is. Like I mentioned before, it's a philosophy, it's an idea, it's a complete paradigm shift in many cases. And most of all, content marketing is a culture. It's a culture of helping, it's a culture of educating your prospects, and it's a culture of listening to what questions they're asking and providing the best answer on the end of someone's search. So having executive buy-in or having just a leader who's buying in and really leading the force on content marketing can be invaluable in 2017 and really the point of difference. So that's number 8. And let's jump into number 7. This one's a tricky one because a lot of times we want to freelance our content out. We want to outsource it. But not creating most of your own content can be a problem. And I know I've experienced this with some of our clients that we've worked with, where they will send us their content to create, which is fine. We create content all the time. But oftentimes it will get stuck and mired in this month-long, or actually probably 6-month-long editing process, where we're going back and forth because we're not using the right language or the technical jargon, or we just don't have the subject matter expertise that comes from being an authority on their business. And really, no one knows your business better than you do. So this is a vital part of content marketing, is that if you can somehow be involved with content development or create the content yourself in one way or another, it will be that much more effective in the long run. I know you've gone to a site and gone onto a blog and read a piece that was just a fluff. You know, it's not good. It didn't really give me much. It was helpful in a little way, but in the long run, it didn't do anything for me. And usually those are written by people that don't know the business in and out. And we'll talk about later in the presentation exactly how you can come up with ideas and how you can use your staff to create the content. And I know a couple of you are probably freaking out because you're like, oh, I don't have time to create the content. I totally understand. It's hard. And I think there's a twofold answer to that, really. It comes down to priorities. Is content marketing your priority? Do you understand that it could transform your business? If it is, you will make time to create content. But then also more realistically, because I can say that all day, but realistically, is there a way you can at least just be more involved in the creation of your content from the very beginning? Maybe that's looking up, doing the brainstorming, figuring out what your customers are asking or your prospects are asking, and answering those questions through the content. Maybe it's providing an outline to a freelancer and making sure they understand the main points that they need to hit. Maybe it's also providing a dictionary of sorts, a Wikipedia of all the different terms that are in your business's kind of landscape of language. So these are a couple things that you can do to at least be more involved if you can't create 100% of the content all the time. And that's how we work with our clients. We work with them in creating the larger campaigns, the kind of big product launch content creation, while they do the day-to-day blog content, because we just find that that's more effective and the content is a lot higher quality as well. So number 6 is the wrong kind of strategy. So you're probably wondering, well, what's the right kind of strategy? Well, we would think of the right kind of strategy as more agile, as more flexible. And the wrong kind of strategy would be like this guy on the screen here, with this huge binder that you just thunk on a table, and it sits there on a shelf for another year without anyone looking at it because it's too much words, too many words. And so we actually call these the thunk strategies because it's something you would thunk down and then forget about. And we used to do these for our clients for sure, and for ourselves, where we'd really think through everything and put together a huge, 200, no joke, 200 slide deck to talk about what the strategy should be, who the personas were, what's our target audience, what is the content we can create. But really what we found was that this wasn't necessarily helpful to front load all of your time on putting together a strategy. What is helpful, and it's been proven time and time again in all these content marketing studies, is to document your strategy. So if there's anyone on the call that is doing content marketing but doesn't have a documented strategy, and I'm not talking about a binder, I'm talking about 1 page, maybe 10 pages, nothing more than that, that documents who your target audience is, what your goals are, what your metrics should be, and that document can be spread to anyone involved with your content marketing program, then you're doing something wrong if you don't have that. Because documented content marketing strategies really align your people around common goals, your processes, so you understand who does what are the expectations, and also your priorities. Because of course, if you don't have content marketing as a priority, it's not going to be something that you really excel at. So remember that content marketing should never be static. It's dynamic. And the main thing about being more agile and flexible with your content marketing strategy is that you're always testing. So it's not that saying of always be closing, it's always be testing, always be trying different things, throwing darts at the wall and seeing what sticks. You got to have a hypothesis. We think our audience will like this type of content based on our research. We're going to create that content. We're going to get it live right off the bat. We're not going to wait 6 months while we're working on our strategy. And then let's see if we can measure some results and tweak based on our successes and failures. So being more agile and documenting your strategy is really what you need to do in 2017. And another aspect of strategy is this. Now this is kind of crazy looking, but this is known as a hub and spoke model of content marketing. And if you take anything away from today, I highly recommend thinking about this model and using it at some point in your 2017 content marketing program. So how does this work? Well, first you have a hub, as we see in the middle. And usually this is a larger content piece. So oftentimes this will be, say, a downloadable PDF that will be behind a lead form so that you can generate leads by having people provide their personal information to get the download. I've also seen it done as exclusive videos or things like that. But PDFs are also usually a pretty good way to do it. And usually these are a bit more comprehensive than your normal day-to-day blog post. So for example, we actually, in relation to this last slide here, the wrong kind of strategy, we saw this as a problem. And we knew our prospects and our customers were creating the wrong kind of strategies. So what we did was create this around that problem. So we created a hub called the Content Marketing Strategy Template and Checklist, which I'm happy to send to you guys or tweet out later so you can get it. And I think it's about 12 pages and you answer 12 different questions in order to put together a simple documented content strategy. So that was our hub, and it was gated behind a form. So we got tons of leads. I think we're up to probably 900 leads through this one download. And then from there, we created a bunch of spokes. So we repurposed pieces of the hub, and we also created new pieces outside of the hub into different content formats that we knew our prospects enjoyed. And I just saw Nancy. I will definitely send that template. So we turned it into a case study, which then also got turned into a vlog, which was also repurposed into an email as part of our lead nurturing campaign. And then we also did a webinar just like this, specifically on how to create this strategy. We had a landing page, which got turned into ads, and we did offsite articles and social. So it goes on and on and on and on. And what this format, what this campaign structure does is give your team, or give yourself if you're a one-person team, a focus for a certain amount of time. Because every time you create a spoke, those spokes are built to support that hub. So every time we have something here, we have links and calls to action to download that hub. And our goal is lead generation. And after lead generation, we'll talk about this in a few minutes, we nurture those leads so that we can start to create a relationship based on trust and loyalty by sending some of these other spokes that we have. And we've actually gotten clients out of people who came to our website first to download this hub. And this should work for B2B and B2C, SaaS, whatever it is you're in. This model works, and I highly recommend it. And I always get the question of how often do you recommend doing this? And it really just depends on resources. We at Vertical Measures are able to do it 4 times a year, so quarterly, but we have some clients that can only do it 1 a year, and they really put all their eggs in that basket and go hardcore focus on that, and they do very, very well. Because then you have basically a quarterly content plan right here with the goal of pushing people back to generate leads. And I will share that strategy template with you at the end of the presentation. Number 5, this is a mistake that we see a lot. You spend tons of time creating content and figuring out what your prospects are looking for, and then you don't amplify it. Then you don't promote it. And this is a funny picture. Well, not funny, but this is from Field of Dreams. I don't know how many of you have seen it. But this is the whole thing here is that if you build it, they will come. And it's these kind of baseball playing ghosts that come and inhabit this field, which sounds weird saying it out loud. But that's the idea with that many people adopt with content marketing is if you build it, they will come. And I'm going to tell you, if you build it, they might come. Just because you create content that you know people are interested in, you've optimized it to be found, you need to put some effort into promoting your content to meet your audience where they're hanging out online. So are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Do they prefer email? How do they interact with content online, and where could they naturally discover it? And there's a couple different ways to amplify your content. Of course, organic is one way, so that's not paid. And social media is probably the main promotional channel that we recommend. And I always say, don't go on every single social channel. There's so many now. Pick a couple of the major ones that you know your audience hangs out on. And then if there's a certain niche one for your type of industry, go on that. Links are another one. We'll talk about that in a minute about optimization. Links are the currency of the internet. So having links from other websites pointing to your content is basically like a vote in your favor, because the web online is basically a popularity contest. And so the more links you have in the favor, the more votes you have in that popularity contest, and Google ranks you higher. Influencers, I put this on both sides here. So that could be a way if you have someone within your industry. For example, in our industry, we work with a lot of people like Jay Baer, Rand Fishkin, some of these big names within the digital marketing space. And we regularly reach out to them to either interview them, to have them create content for us, or to do a webinar for us. And then also now it's moving over into the paid space where companies are actually paying people, which I find fascinating and would love to be paid to do an Instagram, but they're paying people to do some type of product placement on their Instagram or Pinterest or whatever it is in a video or whatnot. So this is now becoming even a paid distribution tactic, because you can target certain influencers that you know your audience already follows, and then you're tapping into this unknown network that you didn't have before and gaining all these new people that are interested in your brand. Distribution, this is a little bit different than promotion. So how I differentiate promotion is usually the content that's living on your website. If you have a blog or whatever, you are promoting that on a social channel and pushing people back to consume that content on your own site. So that's promotion. But distribution is different. So distribution would be creating content that will live off of your site in the first place, and it can be discovered through another platform. And those platforms are usually something like YouTube, Pinterest, even SlideShare if you're in the presentation space. So they have their own little search engines within that, and people can discover it without having to come to your website. Of course, you want to push people back there, but distribution is slightly different where the content lives elsewhere. And then, of course, we have paid. I think this is a big thing for everyone on the call to know, is that with how Facebook is and Twitter and even Google AdWords now, you do need to put a little bit of money behind your content to get some legs. And that doesn't mean it needs to be thousands of dollars, trust me. Even for my nonprofit, this could be Phoenix I mentioned, I put $5, $10 behind something since we don't have any type of budget. And what I would get normally is maybe 800 people would see a post on, let's say, Facebook. And then if I put $5, I might get 3,000 people. And what that does is it just expands the amount of people that will see it in the first place. And then after that, you start to get some organic momentum with people sharing it and then more people seeing it. And then you get that kind of snowball effect. So if you have a little budget or a lot of budget, I highly recommend making that focus of 2017 is saying we are going to have a certain amount of budget for every piece of content to help it gain momentum. And that goes along with PPC down here. And press releases, go ahead and still do them. It's kind of one of those traditional media things, but it's a great way to promote your hub and spoke. If you do something like we talked about, you say, we just launched this great piece of content. We aim to help our clients or prospects understand something about our business, and you can download it here. So that's a really good idea for a paid type of promotion and amplification. So definitely, if you're gonna spend 20 hours on a piece of content, spend 20 bucks to promote it as much as you can to get more ROI out of that development process you went through. Now, I mentioned before lead nurturing as part of our kind of hub and spoke process. And this is actually one of my favorite steps in the content marketing process is email. Email is so powerful, and it's kind of the oldest trick in the internet marketing book. I mean, I've been in internet marketing for years now, and it was really the first thing we ever did. So if you put so much time and effort into generating leads, if that's one of your main goals, if you've created all this content and you've gotten conversion, then you need to keep that relationship alive. You don't want to let those leads sit there, opting into an email and then never hearing from you. And then maybe a year later, you send an email and they have forgotten altogether who you are. This is really the aspect of content marketing that differentiates it from traditional media. This is the relationship development part of content marketing. It's about creating that sense of trust and loyalty, about providing that information consistently that people are looking for, and making sure you don't drop the ball when someone has expressed interest in you based on your content. So email marketing really isn't that hard. There's a bunch of programs here that I put. One of my favorites for smaller businesses or even bigger is MailChimp. They've gotten very sophisticated. I think it's free up to 2,000 subscribers right now. And this is a really great one. We also use HubSpot. It's a marketing automation tool, so we can track our visitors and see who's downloading what. But email doesn't need to be that hard. You want to keep email very simple. One of the best formats if you're looking to either ramp up your email or to start an email program is a newsletter. It can be as simple as once a month or once a quarter, and it's recapping something that you've done during that month or quarter. What we do is we recap some of our best blog posts. We always include one of our hub downloads, and we also include what webinar we're hosting that month. Oh, and then the last one also is we include all the conferences that we're speaking at. And I've had people come up to me at conferences saying, I love your newsletter. It's always so helpful, and I get great resources from it. So of course, you always want to be thinking about being helpful and informational and not selling, because it's all about that relationship building aspect. You can also get a little here if you want to do email automation. Now, you have to have certain systems for this, but even MailChimp does this now. And this goes really well with our hub and spoke process. So as soon as someone downloads this hub, they automatically get an email thanking them for their download. And then we will set together, as they call it in HubSpot, a workflow, which then sends a series of emails over about a month with different pieces of content that we think that they would find relevant to their download. And of course, throughout that, we provide a little information about our services. And at the very end, we might include a CTA to talk to us about putting together their strategy as well. So you're always moving people down the funnel, you're staying on top of their mind, and you're really building that brand recognition through your email. So email is something I recommend focusing on this year. Number 3, this is a big one, lack of optimization or as we techies call it, SEO. SEO is so important because if you're going to spend, 10 hours creating a piece of content, all you need is 10 minutes to optimize that content properly to be found. So make sure you focus on those best practices that I'll go over in a second. And I always like the slide, so I'll let you guys read it. The best place to hide a dead body is page 2 of the Google search results. And I hope you have no reason to do this, to hide a dead body. But if you did, no one is looking on page 2. Google has gotten so good at optimizing their algorithm to provide people with the information they're looking for in the first 10 results. And so what we need to do as content creators and marketers is understand this both in our brainstorming process for developing content ideas in the first place and also for optimization. And you can see here this lays true. We have 92% of the clicks on Google come from page 1. So there's a complete drop off. So here's, if you can see my mouse, here's the first 10 positions. So this is page 1. And then you can see how far the clicks drop off. So you really want to get there. And search is so important too. You can see that 93% of all consumers use search prior to making a purchase. So I do all the time. I spend hours and hours and hours, probably more time. I spend more time planning my vacations than I do on vacation. I don't know if that's anyone here, but I use the internet all the time to look for questions and reviews and comparisons before I decide to buy something. This is a really big one that you should be aware of, especially this year, is that 86% of searchers conduct non-branded queries. So that means they're not looking for your brand name most of the time because they're looking for something that solves their problem and they don't necessarily know you are the solution yet. So I'm going on a trip to Vietnam. I'm getting married soon. We're going on a honeymoon. And I'm not typing in, we're doing this cave trek, and I'm not typing in hiking shoes or REI. I'm not saying REI hiking shoes. Like what I want is a certain type of shoe. I want a waterproof women's leather hiking shoe size 8. I don't care if it comes from REI. I don't know what brand I want to commit to yet, but I know what product I want. So I'm searching these longer phrases or even asking questions, and they're not related to a brand. And what we see is that this is how you start to generate those leads at the top of the funnel. You have these leads coming in who are very interested in these non-branded queries, and then they discover your brand through your content. And after a while, they'll start to actually search for you, but they don't know you when they're first looking. So in your content, you want to focus on these non-branded queries because that's how you draw new people into the fold. And then this is really great to know too, is that Google is a billion, trillion dollar company. And before all the self-driving cars and everything else they have, they're really purely an ad revenue company. But 90% or more of people are clicking on organic links, so the big blue links, versus any sponsored ads. So this is where we, as content creators, want to land. And we'll talk about exactly how to do that. But first, just a quick overview of some big problems that we see. And I'm not going to go too in depth with this since I want to leave some time for questions. But number one is unintentional duplicate content. And some of this might be you just want to talk to your webmaster or your SEO or someone knows a little bit more about the back end of your site. This happens a lot with WordPress. If you don't set it up correctly, you'll have all these different pages with all the same content, and Google gets confused and thinks you're trying to spam the system. This is a big no-no. Number two, slow page load times. You really have to speed up your page load because it's baked right into the Google algorithm nowadays, where it affects where you rank depending on how slow or fast your page loads. Poor HTML, those are the best practices I mentioned. Having links on your page, having heading tags on your page, and I've got some resources for you guys so you can go into that on your own time. Non-optimized images or videos, bad backlinks or not enough, thin content, and not being mobile friendly. Thin content means there's not a lot of value to the page, not a lot of words on the page, and this should really not happen anymore in 2017. So I want to give you these videos because I could probably speak for, well, I have spoken for about 4 hours on SEO. So I have these series of videos on our site. So it's verticalmeasures.com/resources/SEO. And so we have, I think, about 12 videos. One is a 101 series, one is a 202 series. So if you want to look into more of these kind of best practices, I highly recommend. They're like probably 3 minutes each. And these are all the things that when you do them in your content, it should only take 10 or 15 minutes. And this should be happening every single time for the best optimization, and it shouldn't be that much work. So getting down to kind of the last couple here, number two, that one of the biggest problems is that you're afraid to publish the best content. I don't really like this image, so I'm going to go to the next one. But you got to be doing the content that people are actually looking for. You have to go back to what I said in the beginning, is how can you be the best answer on the end of someone's search? How can you be the most helpful to your prospects based on what they need? So here are the 6 different types of content I recommend focusing on if you haven't already. It's answering cost or price questions. And a lot of businesses are scared to do this. They don't want to give away their secret sauce or their prices. But you don't necessarily have to give a number value, especially if you're in the B2B space. You can just talk about what are the elements that go into the cost. So for example, one of the best examples is, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? You can't answer that because it depends on the size of the pool, the square footage, the tiling, the different kind of upgrades. But you can go and talk about all those different elements and give ranges, because people are looking and typing for these questions so much in Google and in search engines. And if you have a really well thought out answer on your own website, you're more likely to convert those people. Next would be problems or issues. Are there top 10 concerns or top problems with a fiberglass pool, or 20 issues you'll run into during your content marketing strategy? This is something that people are considering when they're further towards the bottom of the funnel and ready to buy. This is also another one, and this is sometimes where you can bring your brand into the content, is versus or comparisons. Salesforce versus Infusionsoft. Let's see, tacos versus burritos. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here, but this is one that is very successful as well. Reviews, best or top. So that's the top 10 restaurants in downtown Phoenix. And then resource pages. We just published one of these on our blog, and they're usually a little bit more in depth. They're longer, and they perform for you for a long period of time. The one that we published was 120 digital marketing conferences in 2017. And we did it in a way that you could filter by location, by a keynote speaker, by date, and by the name of by alphabetical order. And so we've already gotten a lot of good responses from that, and that will perform for us for the whole year. And then we can update that next year with minimal work. The last problem here that I'll finish up with is ideation gone awry, which basically means you're not brainstorming for content topics in the right way based on what people are looking for. So what I want you to do in 2017 is start off here, is ask your staff, or if you don't have a lot of staff, ask your business partners or ask anyone that does work with you in any way, or even ask your customers. And why I say ask your staff is they know your business better than anyone. Oftentimes your salespeople are the best people to ask because they're always answering questions, they're always confronting objections. And I bet if you looked in their sent messages folder, you have 20 blog posts already written. So ask them this one simple question. What questions do you get asked all the time? Or ask yourself that. What do I get asked all the time? Turn those questions into content topics. And of course, you then have to do a little bit of research. So let's use the example, I'll try to use it throughout, is how much does content marketing cost? That's something we get asked all the time. So what I would do then is to go to Google. It's the easiest place to do content ideation, is to start typing in these questions. So this one's already a cost one. How much does Microsoft, you can see that's all we typed, and then it will give you suggestions. Office cost, and you can't see all of them, sorry about that, but how much does a website cost? And you can do a little star. Best Phoenix Hospitals, AZ. This one's funny. low maintenance backyard, and you can see I have 4 different ideas that are suggested to me. And these mean that other people, lots of other people, are searching for these ideas. And so that's why Google's trying to say, hey, I know a lot of people that search for these. Are these what you're looking for? So these are great places to start to get lots of ideas. And you can play around with like changing around the words and letters and all types of things. And then here I'm just showing you the same example with low maintenance backyard. And then it's exactly the same on mobile. Another tool you can check out is keywordtool.io, and all you want to do is just start thinking about those questions again and then start typing in some ideas. So I just typed in outdoor lighting. This was for one of our home appliance clients, and this produces 46 questions that people are asking on Google. This comes straight from Google. Can outdoor lighting be used indoors? Do yourself outdoor lighting? How to do outdoor lighting, there's lots of them. And if you even click over to this tab here, keyword suggestions, I think there were 100 keyword suggestions here. Another tool, if you have it, this is a paid tool. Keywordtool.io is free, but this is a paid tool. This is Moz, and this is a really cool one because it will just give you even more questions. This has 1,000 keywords, so just another one I wanted to let you know. And then you want to take the next step. So say we did this example of the low maintenance backyard. That's what I typed in, and then it suggested to me for dogs, which I don't know if there's such a thing, but if you have a dog. But if you look here, I don't know if anything stands out to you, but what for me you can see is that no one has created a piece of content after doing a research for this phrase. The closest one is down here at the bottom, low maintenance backyard with dog, ground cover options. And if you check it out, it's from a community forum in 2012. So no one that's a brand that maybe sells pet supplies or even kind of home goods supplies has done this research, created a piece of content, and I bet you if they did with almost this exact title here, they would rank #1 within a couple of weeks. So that's the process you want to go through. Let me just go back. Ask questions, figure out what those questions that you're being asked. Do some simple suggest Google research to see what other people are looking for. Do some more research on tools like keywordtool.io or Moz, and then go check it out here. See if there's actually a content gap that your content could fill. And of course, I only spent 2 minutes on that, so I'm going to give you our CEO's video where he goes into this in 45 minutes. So if you're really interested in ideation especially, then I highly recommend this video. It's verticalmeasures.com/ideation. And content marketing does work. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed that you're going to be from failure to failure, because I think if you even fix 2 or 3 of these issues we talked about today, you're going to see more results that you're seeing now. And content marketing does work, no matter how big you are. This was a Salesforce versus Infusionsoft comparison that ranks #1, or how small you are. This is a small sleep clinic in Alaska who adopted the content marketing philosophy and created tons of content ideas based on questions that they get all the time. And I'm going to tell you right now, these are not sexy topics. Why am I so tired all the time, even after a full night's sleep? I'm pretty sure I've asked that to myself sometimes. These aren't sexy topics, but they are based on real-world questions, real-world research, and they have tons of views and tons of leads and conversions. And you can see overall, this is right about where they adopted content marketing. And the green here is their organic growth, where they really just focused on answering questions, creating content, optimizing it, amplifying it, and then nurturing those leads. And you can just see how much their traffic grew and their business as well. Another quick example I just want to show you as we wrap up here is Yale Appliance. So this is a B2C company that it's an everyday appliance store in Boston, and they adopted content marketing. And you can't see it here, sorry, the animation wasn't working, but there's a blog back here where they just do a lot of comparison. So they did Maytag versus Electrolux washers, another not sexy topic. But what they do is that hub and spoke campaign that I talked about, where at the end of every blog post, they have a large CTA to a washer buying guide. And they took another step further and created a whole resource center of these buying guides based on different products, appliance, refrigerator, counter depth refrigerator buying guide. These are things people are looking for when they're trying to make a purchasing decision. And you can tell by their results that they get tons of traffic for these not interesting topics, but very helpful topics. And these are their results. Their traffic is up over 600%. Their leads have grown more than 350%. Revenue is up by 40%. And I think one of the coolest things, which isn't the case for everyone, but their profitability is up way more than that because they actually eliminated their complete traditional marketing expense. Oftentimes we think traditional goes well with content marketing, but they decided to go all in and they cut out a lot of their costs. So I'll end up here before we take some questions with just one quick example from our own site, because I mentioned this in part of the presentation, is how much does content marketing cost? This is an article that we created a couple years ago and just refreshed in 2016. And what we did was we optimized the title, of course, based on a question. It's ranking #1. And then we used a bunch of different elements within the cost of content marketing, like research, strategy, promotion. And we used those as our section headings. And what happened was we're also ranking for those. And so we did this in the same process where we went through and did questions. We figured out what our sales team was being asked. We did the research. We promoted it, we optimized it, and this is one of our largest lead converting pages. We actually got a very large client who really loved this page. So this is the power of content marketing, of answering questions, of being the best answer on the end of someone's search. So just to conclude here, and I'll leave some time for questions, is your whole company truly needs to be bought in to understand content marketing. If it's one of you, if it's 5 or 50, having a culture and understanding of the philosophy of content marketing is vital. You also need to have a documented agile strategy. Don't have a thunk, a big binder. Keep testing, keep hypothesizing, keep being flexible, and of course, keep trying to train yourself by coming to webinars like this or workshops or conferences. Create content people are actually searching for. Don't create content you think that you would want to read. Create content your prospects want. And also, don't skip the ideation step. Do the research, look at Google, look at the tools, and make sure these content topics are worth the ROI and the effort. And really, it comes down to the companies, and I've seen them, that truly understand these principles are the ones that are doing incredible things online. So I want to give you this book if you guys are really interested in content marketing and want to take this further. We have it's about 300 pages, so it's not light reading, but you can download it for free, and it goes into kind of all the 8 steps of content marketing we talked about into more in depth. So you can feel free to download that here. And I will go ahead, Kendall, if there are any questions or if you guys want to type some and I'll get some. But I think we have a couple more minutes that I can do them for.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Quinn. Yes, I have just typed into the chat box Q&A time, so feel free to type those in, and I will start reading those out loud, and then if you want to answer them, Quinn. Thank you so much. This was a lot of really great information. I've jotted down some notes myself, but in the follow-up along with this recording, I'll make sure to pull out those great keywords, tools.io, and those great online resources, as well as the video series that Quinn referenced. We'll have those available to you as well. We'll give everybody just a quick minute to get some. Yeah.
I just pasted in that strategy template I mentioned, so you guys can go and check that out too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a first question here. It's, would you please further explain how you created the keyword phrase tabs you mentioned for that article? How much does real content marketing cost? Was that on your website or optimized on the back end of your paid campaign for SEO?
Yeah, question. So I would show it to you. Let me actually, I'll probably just we'll follow up with a link, but this was all one written blog post. So what we did was use the heading tags. So those are the section headings of the blog, which are H2 tags. So in WordPress, if you're using WordPress, it's an easy highlight and a drag and drop where you select if you want a heading 2 or heading 3 tag. And what that does is tell Google or search engines that there's a priority for that section heading. So all we did was create different sections answering different questions about the element of the cost of content marketing, and we optimized those as section headings. And I know that doesn't make sense maybe verbally, but it is on our blog, and you can check it out there. But yeah, these were just a written blog post, and then we used the section headings.
Awesome. Okay, from Dana, they asked, do you have any tips for content in a back-end WordPress site?
Hi, Dana. Your name sounds familiar. So yes, WordPress is great. I love WordPress, and I spend a lot of time in there formatting. So if your question's kind of about formatting, oh, Orange Sky. Okay, I thought your name looked familiar. Cool. Well, I would definitely make sure you focus on all the optimization best practices within WordPress. So a couple of the main ones, the main one was what I just mentioned, was the heading tags. Make sure you only have one H1 on the page, which is usually the page title or post title. And then you can think about the section headings in terms of an outline. So like an outline you would turn into a college professor. H2s are secondary, H3s are tertiary, and then so on. And then, of course, you want to think about content chunking. And that's what we call kind of visual breaks in the content. So it doesn't look like there's a wall of text for the visitor, especially if it's a written piece of content. So try different things like font formatting, bolding, italicizing. Bulleted lists are great. Numbered lists are great. CTAs, like social CTAs to tweet, clip to tweet, those things are nice. Embedded videos, images. I have a couple examples of those, but basically you want to break it up visually so it doesn't look like a wall of text. It's optimized, and it's also good for the user experience. And then, of course, you always want to make sure you have some type of more business-oriented call to action. Either it's a download or fill out this form or some type of good user journey so they know what to do next if they really enjoyed that content.
Awesome. Thank you, Quinn. Miriam asks, where can we find all the links? Miriam, are you talking about the links that were referenced in the presentation, or maybe it's something else that I missed? If you can, in the presentation. I will make sure that these are pulled out, and I'll make sure that you have those links in a follow-up email that will also include the recording. Okay, on to Roger's question. What is the best way to do ads targeted to just my city?
Good question. So I'm not so much on the PPC side, but from what I know, at least on Facebook and I believe Google AdWords, you can target by zip code. And so I would definitely look into that if you have something specific to a local area. You can do zip code and then a radius around that zip code. So you can go as far as, I think, 5, 10, 20, 30 miles out. So you can play around with that and then make sure that the ad copy itself reflects that it's a local ad. So if it's Phoenix or Glendale or whatever, make sure you have that included in there with a relevant picture. I think one thing I sometimes see, which kind of irks me with local ads, is they use stock photography when I feel like they could just use something that actually looks like Phoenix or actually looks like the city that they're advertising. So yeah, you can definitely look into radiuses and targeting zip codes. Also, if you do have an email list and you're using Facebook, for example, you can actually upload that email list and then retarget those people on Facebook. So you're going after the specific people that have already expressed interest in you and getting in front of them on another platform.
Awesome. And I would just like to add, at Local First Arizona, we use Infusionsoft, sending out newsletters and emails that you all get as well. So along with, maybe just ads on like Facebook and sort of outward to try and reach new people. For those that are in your system, I would say Infusionsoft's been great, and really any platform will do this, but you can, ask for the city and group people together and tag them, so then you can make sure that you're marketing specifically to certain groups, so then you're not losing interest by, getting things out there that maybe people aren't very interested in. So that's just on the other side of it too. And then let's see here, we have from Nancy, she asks, are the keyword phrases built into the blog of the website?
Yes. So for every single blog post, you want to make sure you have a keyword. And we try not to focus too much on specific keywords in our ideation process. Of course, that's definitely part of it, but usually those are very apparent when you're having questions. So in this example, the keyword really is cost of content marketing or content marketing costs. So that should be integrated right within your title for sure. And then you'll have it included within the body of your content as well as semantic phrases, which really just means synonyms for the same phrase. So content marketing costs, some synonyms for that would be price, what else? Cost, price, budget, kind of all these things that would naturally be used in a conversation, in a verbal conversation, of different ways of using it, because different people are going to use different words for the same search intent. So some people will be price for content marketing budget, things like that. So you want to always include the main target within the title, and then again in the body content, but it really should come out naturally. It should come out as you wrote it naturally from an expert level view, and those keywords will usually come out pretty well in that form.
Awesome. Thank you, Quinn. And then speaking of keywords, with each of your directory listings as business members, you have the opportunity and control of inputting any keyword, type of keyword that you're looking for. So if you haven't sat down and thought about, if you're a bicycle shop selling bicycles, what are the different phrases and things like that that people use, it'll help to land you higher at the top of Google search pages. And then just having that directory listing also helps with your SEO. But you have control to add any number of keywords that you want. Right now, Local First just has control over the categories. We're hoping in the future that you'll have full control over everything. So that's another opportunity to be able to get people to find you. And then I am going to, let's see here, Nancy asks, I use different website software, not WordPress. Is it possible to, possible on non-WordPress websites? So I know that you've been referencing a lot of WordPress, Quinn, but yeah, I'm sure that you agree that these are very universal across a lot of different platforms.
Yes, absolutely. Right? And it will just look differently in different systems. I know WordPress is kind of the one a majority of people use, but every other system, you just need to make sure you identify where these things are. How do you add links? How do you add H2s? Oftentimes you can even add them in the code, but for the most part, the visual editors make it very simple across platforms to include these things as long as you know where to find them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to end it there. If you have any further questions for Quinn, just feel free to email myself. I am putting in my email address here for localfirstaz.com, and we'll make sure to send anything over. And again, you'll receive a follow-up. And then Nancy, we will make sure that you have the name of that paid keyword tool, which is Moz, M-O-Z, and I'll make sure you've got a link to that as well. Again, thank you so much, Quinn, and I just want to invite everybody online to join us next Tuesday for Leveraging Your Localness, which is an in-person seminar here in Phoenix with our Executive Director, Kimber Lanning. This is, along with content marketing for online and opportunities to just grow and educate and create that culture, which is so important. You can also leverage your localness to bring more people into your stores, your businesses, and also link arms with other local entities to reach a wider audience as well. So again, thank you so much to Quinn, and we will send out this recording shortly.
Yeah, thank you for me.
Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, have a good